what I think is the thing that people are most excited for pop culturally when it comes to July. And that is what is happening on July 21st, or what has been dubbed so deliciously as Barbenheimer, the premiere of both the Barbie movie and the J. Robert Oppenheimer biopic coming out on the same day. I have heard that there are some people out there, crazy people perhaps, who intend to double feature this movie on the same day. Go right from Barbie into Oppenheimer. And that just seems like too much of a contrast, right? Too big of a whiplash to do those. Because look, on one hand, you have a movie that is a gripping and uncompromising portrait of one of history's most important and controversial figures. And then you also have this other movie about J. Robert Oppenheimer. And I just don't know how you do both of those in one day. That seems like quite a shift.
First of all, that was good. Second of all, yes. I think what's also interesting about it is that I think that like you would expect these two movies to have completely different audiences, and probably to a degree they do, but really people seem to be coming around to the fact that they want to see both. And maybe it is just the girlies who are rallying around both, because I don't know who else wants to see Barbie, but I almost think that the hype around both of them might be opening people up who previously were haters of the Barbie movie to actually being interested in the Barbie movie, because they're leaning into it. I think both PR teams are leaning into the fact that it's coming out on the same day. There's some like camaraderie there. And I feel like that just makes it so much more fun.
I think the Barbie movie is going to be not just good, but exceptional. You see this sometimes in Hollywood where the marketing push behind a movie is so big and it's so unexpected. You're like, why is this getting so much of a push? Yeah. And it's because the studio knows what they have. Yeah. You know, they're seeing the screeners, they're seeing the early cuts, and they're like, this is lightning in a bottle. For whatever reason, you know, it's Greta Gerwig, an amazing director, Margot Robbie, who's great in everything she's in. It all just works. And they realize they have a huge hit on their hands. And so they're throwing a full publicity push behind it. And I think there's no better indication that this movie is going to be way better than any of us thought it was going to be because of how much love it's getting early on here.
I agree. And I will say, like, the one thing I was nervous about the Barbie movie was, and I'm sorry for saying this almost, but like, I thought Ryan Gosling was like not giving Ken, you know, just wasn't, I thought maybe a little too old or just not the vibe. I saw some clips of him. He is so freaking funny. In just a 30-second clip, I was laughing so hard. So if that's any indication of what the whole movie is going to be, I'm really excited. Second, I know that they got like Mattel on board for some like plot points, which I feel like is also really good. You know, it's really indicative of like, if they can agree that this like needs to happen and that the plot is good and that they want to kind of like give their permission, like that is also a good sign. But then lastly, exactly what you said, the amount of money that they have poured into promoting this, and there's Barbie houses, dream houses like everywhere. Months before, there's interviews happening. There's Margot Robbie like dressing like different Barbies on all of the red carpets she's on. Like there's so much thoughtfulness going into it that I don't know how people are not hyped, because I'm so hyped for this movie.
I'm trying to think of the last time. I mean, what was the last time that a movie got this kind of push or people got this excited? It's probably the Top Gun sequel. I think was, you know, that movie brought a lot of people like, back to cineplexes, but I think this is even a bigger push.
I think I think what Top Gun had is that it was a sequel, and so I don't even think that the press push was as big, but I think that they had the advantage of just like announcing really, really early that they were doing a sequel. So for many, many years, people were like, oh yeah, it's coming. So everyone knew. But with this, honestly, with the Barbie movie, I think musicians can learn a ton from this campaign, because it's really a masterful lesson in why you need to start promoting things early. So if you have a release coming out I mean, or an album coming out or anything that you're working on, to start teasing it and start like priming the pump early and getting your audience interested and involved early is so, well, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what the box office numbers actually do before I like speak too soon. But even just in the hype of the amount of people talking about it, and I think the interest that they're getting, like that's what you want when you're releasing something. And the reason it's happening is not just because of the money that they put into it. It's because they've started early and they're hitting it hard with social media. And you don't need a ton of money for social media, you know? You don't really need any.
Yeah, I think there could be a whole masterclass on what indie creators can learn in terms of their own promotion just by seeing how the Barbie movie was promoted. Even in the very early stages of promotion, like what was the first thing that we saw with the Barbie movie? It wasn't a trailer, right? It was just a couple clips. It was a still image. This is what, you know, Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie look like. Just one little shot of them on like the Barbie roller skates or whatever down Venice Beach. And that was enough to get the chatter going. That was enough to get like, you know, even the people who were like, oh, Ryan Gosling doesn't look like Ken. That's still publicity, right?
Yep.
And you know, it got people talking. And so indie creators can learn from that, like, you know, breadcrumbing kind of those early moments when you're creating something, getting the chatter going very, very early in the development so that you can control as much of the promotional narrative for as long as possible up into the crescendo of the release of whatever your project is.
Yeah, exactly. Without doing it in a way that makes people annoyed that you're talking about it so much. And so that is also the art. Because like you'll notice that the Barbie movie is giving us clips now. So we can get a teeny, teeny, tiny look into some of the scenes in the movie. So they're giving us content that's kind of keeping us fed, but leaving us wanting more. So it's like finding that right balance. Because if you are releasing a song and you're just playing the same, you know, 2 stanzas over and over and over again, and then never like building on that, people will just be like, okay, forget it. But when you can do it and drip it out really like tastefully, it's really effective.
Yeah, I'm blown away with this. Like I would have never thought that I would go see the Barbie movie. You know, was not part of my childhood, but because of how well this has been promoted and the chatter about it, and just I can tell from the marketing push, this is going to be a really good movie. I'm going to go see this. Like I'm a person who wouldn't have otherwise just gone to see this, who now because of the marketing will go and see this. And I think there's a lot that creators can learn from that.